Hello, hello, hello. It is Cassandra Terry, your manifesting miracle maker, and it is Mindset Monday. Welcome, guys. Come on in. It's been a minute. I've been away for a couple of weeks because my work schedule changed, and I am trying to get back into the flow of things and back on a regular cadence. So, on Mondays, we talk about mindset and the importance of mindset and ways that we can focus on improving our mindset. So that's where we are today. Specifically, there were 8 things that I wanted to share with you guys that you can do to improve your mindset or to ensure that you're operating from a positive mindset. So why don't we jump right into it? Let's see. Let me pull up my notes so I don't forget anything. I had a birthday recently, so good morning, Shay, or afternoon, actually. I'm so used to being on in the mornings, but yes, I am back. I'm glad to be back. It's been a long 2 weeks without you guys and not talking as much about the things that I absolutely love. So it is great to be back, and I am glad that you are with me. So let's start by talking about two different types of mindset. There's the fixed mindset, and then there's the growth mindset. Growth mindset is where we want to be, and we'll dig into why in just a moment. So, when you have a fixed mindset, you basically believe that things are as they are, and there's not a whole lot of control you have in the situation. You either know something or you don't, you're good at it or you're not. It's really cut and dry, black and white. And it can really hold you back because it will keep you from attempting things if you don't already know how to do them. And what I mean by that is when you think about more open mindedness and realizing that you can, just because you're not perfect at something today or you don't know it really well at this moment, it doesn't mean that with work, with studying, with some effort, that can improve. And how a fixed mindset is something that I always had when it came to math as a student. I was really, really good at anything that was writing based, anything that was memorization based. So I did really great in English and history and, classes where I had to write papers or recite things. And I believed that I was good at that. And because I believed that I was good at it, I did more and more and more of it. So I became even better at it. But I also believed that I just wasn't good at math. That math was just one of those things that was a struggle for me. So I just had to do the best I could to get what I needed to get out of the class and move on. Now, back then, I was much more of a perfectionist in my mindset than I am now. So I had to make all A's. That was just a rule that I had set for myself. It was a part of my identity. So I would have to put the work in to get an A in math, where the other classes, the A's came fairly easy to me. And that was the only real difference. I had to work a little bit harder, but I still got the A. But I never in my mindset became good at math. That just wasn't something that I considered for myself. So I always went into math with this is going to be hard. This won't come easily. I'm going to have to work extra hard at it. I'm just not good at math. And because that was the mindset, I think I held myself back. I struggled more than I probably needed to because when I went to college twice at least. The first time, when I went back to college to finish my degree, I had some math classes to take, and they just weren't that hard. None of my classes were as hard as I remembered them being. And part of that was because I had matured, and and so and I was more focused and more aware of my abilities. So I didn't have this automatic message going on telling me all the time that I couldn't do something. Around the way, girl. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. So just having a mindset shift made it a little bit easier. I also had somebody that was really encouraging. I was already in the workforce, actually at the company that I am now, and went back to finish my degree shortly after I got there. And one of the things that they did was to the person that was helping me, he kept telling me, "Oh, you can do this. You came to an answer fairly quickly. You're just not confident. You're just not confident. You're just not confident. When you find yourself in a situation where you can get through something, but what's missing is your confidence, that's a mindset thing. There's something going on inside your head that's telling you that you can't or that you shouldn't do whatever it is that you're doing. And so when you find those, that's opportunity. Don't get upset with yourself, but realize that there's an opportunity there for you to change that messaging that's playing in your head so that the experience can be a little bit better. You can get there sooner. Hello, Maida. Thanks for joining. And so, my encouragement to you is to look for those spaces. Be open and honest with yourself and tap in and hear the messages that are playing in your head. Try to create a little bit of space between you and that internal messaging so you can really lock in and hear it. Because when you catch yourself in a place where something is playing that's not beneficial to you, that's an opportunity for you to rewrite it, hear what it is, and change it up. Thanks, Kim. Glad to be back. Let's see who else is there. Somebody says sounds like something I do very often. Hey, Sonia, we're working on it. That's why we're here. We all do these things, and we do them at different degrees. There's some places where I'm really confident because I know the material. I know I'm walking into a place where I can bring value. So it changes how I walk into that place versus going in and feeling like I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I will be any good at this. I don't know if they'll listen to me because of whatever you're going to fill in the blank with. When you've got that messaging going on, you walk into the room. Hey, David, thanks for joining. You walk into the room and you're less confident. You're less likely to share your ideas. You're less likely to speak up. So our mindset plays a huge, huge role in how we manage any situation. So when you find yourself kind of stepping back and shying away, just start to ask yourself, what's going on? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? And then when you answer that question, you can start to adjust it. And then you remind yourself of all the places where you've been for the first time, all the things that you've accomplished for the first time. And then you tell yourself, if I did that, I can do this. I mentioned a long time ago on one of my lives that a couple of years ago, I went skydiving. And it was such an exhilarating experience. And I do things like that from time to time because I come from a very fearful background, afraid of a lot of things. And fear can hold you back more than anything. So I try to face them. I try to face my fears and try and do things to kind of shake myself up and see myself on the other side of that fear. It gives me a lot of, it's not just an adrenaline rush. It is that, but it also gives me a lot of confidence. And I walked around for I don't know how long, guys. Every time something came up hard, I would tell myself, girl, you jumped out of a plane. If you can do that, you can definitely do this. So I had that data point of something really hard that I had to push myself through. And then after that, I kept using it to remind myself. So if you think about your history, there's some tough stuff, some hard things that you've already accomplished. Remember that from time to time and then use it as a reminder when you're starting to get all worked up over the next hard thing. Because there's nothing in your history, really, if you really give yourself a break and take a good look at it, there's nothing in your history that's telling you that you can't be successful at whatever it is that you're wanting to do. You just have to remember your history correctly. We have a tendency to focus on the things that didn't work more than we ever focus on the things that did. And more things did than didn't in most cases. We've had more success than we've had failures, but the failures leave a mark and they hang around and we hang on to them like some sort of badge of honor and use them to determine who we are instead of the successes. Look at all the things that you've accomplished just to be you. Look at all the things that you've survived just to be where you are today. And then you grab a hold of those things and you remember and you remind yourself, oh, I've done all this. So this next thing I can do as well. That's what your history tells you. You have a history of success. You just have to see it that way and realize that that's who you are. You're someone who's successful. You're someone who's capable. Are someone who has gotten over, under, around, beyond whatever difficult things have come your way. But do you move through life like that's you? That's a mindset thing. You have to adjust your mindset and allow yourself to realize just how awesome you are and just how much you've already done. We get so focused on what we want to do that we forget to celebrate and utilize what we've already done to move us forward. So I want to encourage you to take a history lesson, a history of you, and go through it. And when those hard things come up, if the emotions come up with them, there's some work to do there. That means there's some healing that needs to happen. But also, besides the emotions, allow yourself to realize what you've gotten from that situation. Resiliency, the ability to overcome, a track record of getting through difficult things. Just allow yourself to see that. It's just a slight change in perspective. It's just looking at your situations a little bit differently to pluck the gift out of them instead of just being held back by the difficulties of what they were. Because we've all been through some stuff. We definitely have difficult times. There's no question about that. And I never want to minimize what it is that you've been through. I'm not saying that life's been a cakewalk. I'm saying those difficult times, that's where you built your muscle. That's where you built your internal fortitude. That's where you get to know what you're really made of because you're on the other side of some of those things now. And if you allow yourself to see it for what it is, you can see what you've gained from those difficulties. So that's just a slight mindset shift. And that's part of the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, a positive mindset versus a not so positive mindset, a negative mindset. It's not pretending like the bad stuff didn't happen because we've all been through that stuff and it's left its mark. But instead of it being a shackle, you don't want to be shackled to your past. You don't want to be shackled to your difficult situations. You want to use them to propel you forward, and you can. You absolutely can use them to propel you forward because those are the things that tell you just how tough, strong, resilient, capable you are. So just think about that and build your laundry list. Build your this afternoon. I think it's at 6 p.m. Central. I'll be on a live audio room on LinkedIn this evening, co-hosting with a friend of mine, Annie from the UK, and we're going to be talking about building your toolkit against negative self-talk, and that's kind of what we're talking about right now. Start with your brag list. And I'm not talking about the shiny new car. I'm not talking about, the day that you got your degree. Not necessarily. Those are all big things that can go on the list, but you've gotten up and moved through life and accomplished things when everything around you said you absolutely couldn't or you shouldn't. But you've done it anyway. You may have been the first one in your family to do X, fill in the blank. You may have been told all your life that you wouldn't be able to do something, but you accomplished it. Those things are huge. You want to create your success list, your brag list. And when you start feeling down on yourself, when you start feeling like whatever's coming your way is too hard, pull out the list and just review your history. Take a look at the things that you've already accomplished and rest in those, relax in those. Allow those things to remind you that this is just the next hill. But you've climbed many. You've got all these hills in your rearview mirror because you've already gotten over them. So this is just the next one. And if you look at it like that, then you can keep moving forward and not be so overwhelmed when the challenges show up because your life has already proven that you're capable of getting past those challenges. So what I promised we would talk about today was like 8 ways that we can improve our mindset. So these are 8 ways to cultivate a positive mindset. Number 1 is you set the tone. Begin your day with gratitude and intention of the type of day that you intend to have. It's really important. If you start your day thinking about what you're grateful for, that alone will shift your mindset and help you to think differently. You'll be in a better mood. You'll be more hopeful because you're looking at what you're already grateful for. That makes you look at what you have versus being focused on what you don't have. So start your day and end your day with gratitude. Three to five things. What are the 3 to 5 things that I'm grateful for? If you start your day like that, just imagine what type of mood you're going to be in as you're moving through the day. And then you want to recharge. It is hard to be grateful. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to have that right mindset when you're not taking care of yourself. If you're not eating well, if you're not getting some form of exercise, if you're not getting enough sleep, that's me right now. I'm exhausted. So, getting those things are important because your physical well being will also play into your emotional and mental well being. As much as we try to separate, we are one blended, cohesive being moving through the world with all these different layers happening and things happening in those layers at the same time. So you have to take care of your physical if you want your mental to be on point. So take the time to recharge. Hunter's mommy, thanks for joining. And Daniel, I see you as well. Thank you guys for joining. Cassandra said the hardest thing that I deal with is encouraging myself. I think that's difficult for most people. When you see somebody else struggling, it's almost like a natural draw to them to encourage them, to lift them up, to try to be a positive source for them. And then when it comes to ourselves, we struggle to do the same thing for ourselves. And it is important because sometimes the crowd's just not there. There's nobody around to encourage you but you. It's a skill. Being able to encourage anybody is a skill. Being able to encourage yourself is a master skill. And it's one that's important for us to spend time on. Looking back at that list, Cassandra, that I was talking about, that's one way that you can encourage yourself. Giving yourself a break. That's one of the things that we have to. Grace is one of my favorite words in this season of my life. I have to give grace. I choose to. I don't have to. I choose to give grace to others. So that means that I don't react as quickly as I used to. I stop and think and process, and I give people the benefit of the doubt. I assume that we're all doing the best that we can at any given point in time. And I try to step back. Now, if what you're giving me is a pattern of negativity, then I'm really going to step back. I'm not going to spend as much time with you, but I'm also not going to beat you up, not verbally, mentally, physically, in any way. I can choose to disassociate without adding fuel to the fire. I don't have to get in the weeds and scuffle with you. I choose not to. So when that's coming my way, I just block and move. Block and move. I'm not doing it. My mental health is so important to me. My emotional well being, my peace is so important to me that anything that doesn't feed into that, I have to step away from or at least diminish the interactions as much as possible. When it's good, it's good. And when it's no longer good, then we have to do something different and we have to be okay with that. That's part of self-care. I care for everybody that comes into my space at some level or another. And I try to deal with people from a place of caring. But if I put you consistently in front of me and my well-being is a backseat to yours, I'm out of balance. I'm out of balance. I'm going to limit how much I can actually give because I'm not in a good place myself. So that self-care is super, super important. So recharge your battery regularly and then watch your input. What I mean by that is surrounding yourself with positivity. Spend time with people who uplift you and inspire you. And you limit your exposure to the negative, be it external things like the news and media and all the bad stuff that's going on. We're not going to pretend like it's not there, but we're not going to indulge in it so much that it shifts our well being. There was a time when there was so much going on in the world, and I was so attached to the news and watching every bad thing that happened that I had almost paralyzed myself mentally and emotionally. It was hard for me to think about anything else, and it was starting to even affect relationships at work, because I was so spun up that I was starting to see people around me like the people on the news. They're not the same people, and they shouldn't be viewed, through a skewed lens. And that's what was happening. I had to take a step back. But in order to do that and to make good decisions for yourself, you have to be tapped in. You have to feel your feelings, hear the voice, and make adjustments to get that all into good alignment for yourself. So when I figured out that I was going down a rabbit hole that wasn't going to end up in a good place, I had to stop, turn the TV off. I was clueless for a while about what was going on in the world because I just wasn't paying attention, because I needed that mental break. My mom would call me and she was talking about this, and I would clueless. And I was okay with that. I didn't know and I didn't want to know. I needed that break and I gave it to myself. So watching your input is important. When you have a group of family and friends or co-workers, whoever it is, people that you interact with on a regular basis, that's a good time to really tap in and feel your feelings. How do you feel around those people or any individual in the group? There's probably going to be somebody in that group that just being around them makes you feel good, makes you laugh. They're just good positive energy. Spend more time there. And then there may be somebody in the group that you dread coming into contact with. Every time you have to talk to them, you're talking yourself through, you're preparing yourself emotionally for that conversation because it could go left. Limit your times with those people. You can't control who they are. You can't control how they operate. Sometimes they know what they're doing. They do it on purpose because it's worked for them. It's effective. They've gotten what they want by bullying and mistreating other people. They may never change. They may change tomorrow, completely outside of our control. We can only control ourselves. Once we accept that fact, that the only person that we can really change is the person in the mirror, then you can think about these relationships differently. Evaluate it. If nothing changes, if I am who I am and this person is who they are, what kind of interactions do we have? How do they end up? How do I end up feeling after spending time with that person? If the answer to any of those questions is not good, then why are you spending time with them? Ask yourself that and give yourself some honest answers. Watch your input as much as you can. That person may be your manager. I'm lucky. I've had really good managers over these years that I enjoy working with, but you never know. It could be somebody that you don't have a choice. Then you set your boundaries for yourself, and you limit how much you deal with that person. You do what you have to do and you retract in and out. Greetings, Lance. Thanks for joining. So watching your input is completely within your control, and you have to realize that. And that's one of the things that when we talk about mindset, that I want everybody to walk away with, understanding just how much control you actually have. A lot of times we don't realize that. We just go through the day making choice after choice after choice, and then we wonder how we ended up where we are. Well, it's because those, you took a left here, you took a right there, you went straight down this street, and you landed at this address. You drove yourself there. So you have to be mindful of the decisions that you're making because they're taking you somewhere. Now, the question is, are they taking you where you want to go? If the answer to that is no, guess who's driving the car? You are. Reroute your route, map it out differently, make some different choices so that you end up in a better situation. You can't keep doing the same thing and think something's going to change. The only thing that may change is you get just more and more frustrated. But you have a lot of control over where you end up, even when it doesn't feel like it. Just stop and think about how many decisions you're making, how many choices you're making every single day. Think about that and then get control of them. Don't just let things happen to you. Make things happen according to the goals that you have set for yourself. It's important. because you're important and what you want to accomplish is important. And once that's clear for you, then you start to make changes and do things a little bit differently. Lance says, I love what you're doing. I teach this to children as a principal of a school. Awesome content. Thank you, Lance. And I'm so glad to hear that these conversations are happening at a school, because the sooner we grab hold of these concepts and we start to live our lives that way, the sooner we end up where we want to. As young people, we're making so many choices, and we're making them when our brains haven't completely matured, when we don't haven't had very many life experiences. But if we're not careful, we can make choices that the adult us will be paying for years. That's what I said to my son not too long ago. He's 19 now, almost 20. But I said to him, as parents, what we're doing is making is trying to steer you and help you learn to make decisions that your adult self won't have to pay for. I don't want my 14-year-old self to create life for my 40-year-old self, things that I'm going to have to still be paying for. At 14, I'm just a kid. And that's why parents and role models and principals and teachers and all those people that show up in our kids' lives are so important. Hey, Ray, thanks for joining. So it is important that you do have these types of conversations with your children. One of the things as parents, when I was being parented, way back when, because I'm 55 now, um, kids just didn't have the right to ask questions. We were just supposed to do what we were told. I didn't raise my kids that way because I wanted them to understand why I was asking them to do something a certain way, why I was saying no to something that they really, really wanted to do, and they're telling me all their friends were doing it. Well, my mom would say, well, I'm not all your friends' mama. So the answer is still no. And that's all fine. But to help me develop the mindset, the mental aptitude to make good decisions for myself, I've got to make some bad ones along the way and learn from them. And then have somebody there to pick me up, dust me off, and help me see the lesson in that. I'm still doing that with my adult kids and trying to pour into my grandkids. It's important because making decisions it's unavoidable. And what decisions you make when nobody's looking are often the decisions that really drive your life. And so, us teaching our kids, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your birth kids. My nieces and nephews are a big part of my life. Those children, well, they're adults too now, but they are so important to me. And I wanted to try and help them develop the ability to make good decisions for themselves, not just to do what I wanted them to do, or not just to do what mom wanted them to do or dad wanted them to do, but I help them figure out what they want for their lives and then make decisions that are going to help them get there. That's how you develop good, strong, character driven children into adults that will go ahead and do the same thing for the next generation. It starts with teaching them how to make good decisions, and before they're making decisions, teaching them to value themselves, teaching them to have a voice, to be able to stand up and say when something doesn't feel right, when they don't like something, and explain to you why. Those things are important, and those things were not so readily available to us when we were younger, just because of the way we were raised, just because of the times. But times were different. Like when my mom grew up, she was one of the first to integrate her school. So when my grandparents said to her, you shall or you shall not, it could have been a matter of life and death. Drinking from the wrong water fountain, going into the wrong place, handling a situation wrong could be the difference between life and death. So there wasn't a lot of explaining and negotiating and communication on that. It was like, you don't do this and you don't do that. There's still some danger in this world. That hasn't gone away. But there is a good way to help our children learn how to maneuver that, instead of us just driving them through every situation, talk them through, teach them through, because then they can make good decisions for themselves. All right, so watch your input. That was the last one. Hi, Zion. Hello, Ronnie. Thanks for joining. Inhibit spurs a celebrity YouTuber who starred in She-Hulk and spreads a lot of mind-blowing ideas. I am not familiar with Ronnie McNutt. I'd have to take a look. I'm not familiar with them, Ronnie. All right. So the next item on our list is focus. You want to focus on solutions and not on the problem. When you're dwelling on the problem, the energy is getting low, you're getting overwhelmed, you feel stuck, and like things are completely out of your control. And they're never completely out of our control. But if you focus on finding solutions, you open up your mind, you're thinking, you're processing, you're maybe collaborating with other people. That creates more energy. That makes it more makes the new ideas start to flow, and you end up working yourself out of whatever problem it is that you're facing instead of just sitting there overwhelmed by the situation. So if you can just shift your focus a bit so that you're looking at the solution and not the problem, you'll find yourself not dwelling in the problem nearly as long. And then you want to celebrate your successes. You want to take time to acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they may seem to be. Add them to your brag list. Pull that list out when you're struggling, but take the time to celebrate. If you've got a big goal for yourself, you want to accomplish something by the end of the year, make sure that you've broken that down into little milestones along the way. And each time you hit one of those milestones, celebrate it. That's one of the ways, Cassandra, that we encourage ourselves as well. If you can take the time and acknowledge what you've done well and celebrate it, you build your self confidence. You start to build yourself up just by looking at those successes. So that's another way that may work in encouraging yourself. So I think that was the last of the eight. Oh no. And then you want to capture the lessons. That's a big one. Capturing the lessons when things didn't pan out the way you expected. That's huge. You want to learn from your mistakes rather than just kind of dwelling on it as a failure or something that you're really embarrassed about or something you'd rather pretend like it didn't happen. Peel that thing back, open it up, look at it from all angles, and see what the opportunities for growth and learning are from that experience. Very, very important. The other one is practice self care. We've already talked about that. And then make sure that you're setting positive intentions. I was a little nervous. I was like, man, I haven't been on for 2 weeks. Probably nobody's going to show up. All these types of things were going through my head, that negative self talk. And I turned but then I thought about, but before that 2 week break, you've been on for several months. You've had some people reach out to you while you were off, asking when you're going to be back. So at least one or two people will probably show up. If they don't show up, they'll catch the replay and get used to you getting back on, and you'll build the audience back up. But I had to set the intention. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get back on. I'm going to get going again, because this 2 weeks, 2 weeks is a long time in the virtual world and people forget about you. But I set an intention to get back, and here we are. Good engagement. There's quite a few of you that are leaving comments and things like that. And so I'm so glad that I was positive and set the intention to get back going today. And you can do the same thing. I try to start my day with two or three things that I want to make sure I accomplish. I write those things down. And then as long as I've accomplished those, I call my day, and it's been a successful day. If I've attempted them, but there's something that's gotten in the way, that's okay. I can work through that. And maybe I need to stretch it out over more than one day, that particular item, because I ran into something that I didn't know I was going to hit. An obstacle showed up, but it's just something that I work through. It doesn't define me. It doesn't tell me if I'm good or bad. You guys showing up or not showing up doesn't tell me if I'm a good or a bad person. If you have to do that for yourself. You have to wake up and know that right then and there, eyes open first thing in the morning, no spit and polish, nothing's going on but the beginning of a day, that you're perfect right there, just as you are. You're good enough, you're capable, you're deserving. And if you can feel like that in that space, imagine how you'll feel as you start to go through your day. You have to start your day pumping yourself up, believing in yourself, telling yourself what it is that you intend to accomplish. And then you have to put the action behind it. You go for it and you make the choices that are going to get you there. Daniel said, truth, if I don't celebrate it, then why did I achieve it? Exactly. Celebrate those achievements. It's the we beat ourselves up. We bemoan when things don't work out and we forget to celebrate when they do. And I promise you, if you start paying attention, there is more going right than there is going wrong, even when it doesn't feel like it. You just have to stop and take a look and do the inventory. So let me run through the 8 things that we discussed today. So, number one is set the tone, practice gratitude, recharge, practice mindfulness, do whatever you need to do to recharge your battery, watch your input, surround yourself with positivity and disassociate from things as much as you can that bring you down. You want to focus on solutions and not just on the problem. You want to celebrate your successes. You want to capture the lessons when things didn't work out. And you may have noticed I'm deliberate in not saying failures because I just don't believe so much in failure as a thing. As long as you're learning from the situation. Things didn't work out the way I planned. I learned something. I can make adjustments and then I can keep moving forward. The only time I fail is if I've had this horrible experience. I learned absolutely nothing from it. So now I'm likely to repeat that same experience all over again. So, my encouragement to you was to make sure that you're capturing the lessons when things don't go the way they should. Practice self care. Take care of you. You deserve it. You need, if you want to take care of others, if it's important to you to show up and to show up well, you're going to have to practice self-care. Set positive intentions. Tell yourself, this is what I'm after, this is what I deserve, this is who I am. Positive intentions every day. And if you need to reset throughout the day, there's nobody stopping you but you. So just make sure that you're giving yourself what you need when you need it. And these recharging of the battery and resetting ourselves and taking the time to tap in and see how we're feeling and making the adjustments that we can to improve how we're feeling if things are not going well, it all pays out. You'll do even if you're doing that during the middle of your workday, your productivity is going to be better anyway. A rundown, tired you is not going to produce as well as someone who has recharged their battery and has gotten it all together. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you're starting your day with gratitude and positive intentions. You're focused on the solutions. You're not getting weighed down by the problems. You're celebrating and you're being careful about your inputs and who you're spending your time with. That is it for today. There's a few others who joined. Let's see. Divya, what a great start to the week with so much positivity. Sets a good tone for the rest of the week and helps us to focus on the glass half full. Thank you for that, Divya. Lance, I'll take a look at the link that you sent. Hello, Miranda. Buffalo versus cattle. Lance, you'll have to say more about that. I think I have heard that before, but I want to make sure I get it right. Leave me a comment or something about the buffalo versus the cattle. Oh, I see it. Buffalo faces life storms. That's what you sent. Perfect. I want to read through that. Shahad, thank you. I like you as well, and I'm so glad that you joined today. So, guys, that is it. I will be back tomorrow 7:15 Central. Tomorrow is Tuesday. So on Tuesdays, we talk about transformation. So Transformation Tuesday is tomorrow, 7:15 Central Daylight Time. I hope to see you here. The sessions are recorded. I do want to let you guys know I'm very proud, and I've been posting about it, that my workbook is finally done. So this is the M3 goal setting workbook. It's a book that you can order via Amazon. Takes it a couple days to show up, and it is designed to help you with your goal setting. It has some matter up front that really talks about good goals and what they're all about, and then it helps you to dream, because that's where our goals should start. What is it that we really want? And then after you finish your dreaming, then we get busy making a plan, documenting some big ticket items, those long-term goals, and then breaking those down all the way till we get to daily activities. And I walk you through exactly how to do that. So check it out on Amazon. I hope you guys will get it. I am so shocked that people think that's me. That's my logo. But I did used to have a big afro. And I think, things work out the way they're supposed to. I never saw that until a couple people pointed it out to me. But that really looks like me and my driver's license picture from a few years ago. So I think the universe is telling me that I'm in the right place, doing the right things. And I hope you guys will take a look. And I look forward to hearing your feedback, and we will get together again tomorrow, 7:15 Central, for Transformation Tuesday. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome rest of your day.